What's up, Tesla family? It's Ray J back with another video. And in this one, I want to give you guys a quick update on the markets and talk about some very important levels. Let me just mention that I am not a financial planner. Take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please smash the like button. It not only benefits me, it benefits the entire community as a whole. Anyways, the question is what's happening with the market this far. I want to talk about Tesla. Tesla pushed very, very nicely. It's about 228 a share. But this was just a very, very nice trigger of stops because Tesla ended up coming right back down. And this is amidst the whole market kind of seeing a little bit of a dip so far as we hit some tough resistance. So we had some good news. The news came out about how, the EU slashed its planned tariffs on several Chinese-made Tesla EVs, lowered to just 9% from almost 21%. Yes, Tesla pushed upon this news coming out, but I mentioned to everyone that we had to see Tesla hold above 225 to remain bullish. And if not, I'd be looking at like 222 and those other supports. So we ended up coming back down. And as a result of that, Tesla is still looking a little bit bearish for the super short term. But for the medium term, it's still possible and very probable that Tesla will rebound. And I wouldn't necessarily kind of panic over this or do anything like that. So for today, I think we have the bill auction coming out at about 11:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then don't forget, we also happen to have Bostic and Bart giving some speeches from the Fed. We'll see what this leads to, but just note that for Tesla, with all this stuff coming out, it's not really too negative. When you look at Tesla's setup, okay, we still have a cup and like structure that's developing. Cups don't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be perfectly symmetrical. We came very close to this top right here. So this could still be a cup and then a handle could still be forming right here for Tesla to continue to push higher. We're not necessarily out of the bullish trend quite yet. And the reason I say that is because we still have this uptrend where this white trend line happens to be that's carrying Tesla. If we were to lose this, if we end up losing like 210 and also this support right here, then yes, we could turn back down, but we're not even close to that. We're still in the 220s. We're still doing a good job at holding up. So Tesla still remains bullish. Now, I also want to mention to everyone that when you zoom out all the way, okay, the trend is still bullish because we still have this giant inverse head and shoulders like structure that's still developing on the chart. So you can see it just like this. We're still holding support very nicely. We still look very symmetrical. It's doing completely fine, so don't really panic over this. So, in my personal opinion, I think the most likely possibility is we're forming a cup and handle. I think that the market's not done yet. I also don't think Tesla's done yet. I think we're just getting a healthy pullback. And, with the whole cup, it was possible we could have gone to like 230 before the handle would form, but we came just short of that, which is completely fine. Now for Tesla, we're basically looking at supports at 220. If 220 fails us, we're looking at 217. And then our resistance is going to be around 222. Break 222, and our next target is 225. So we're just kind of stuck within this range. I think it is possible Tesla tips a little bit more. We could get closer to 220 again and even break below that, which would be completely fine. But as long as we're above this trend line, you guys see this big white trend line right over here. This is our support. As long as we hold above this, we're going to be completely fine. Even if Tesla does do something like this, where we end up getting a small dip, even if Tesla dips all the way down like this, even if we come all the way down here, we could still form a nice handle and continue to push as time goes on, and we could still remain bullish, right? We could still see a very, very nice inverse head and shoulders, even like a cup and handle, and be completely fine. So don't panic, don't worry. Tesla may dip a little bit more, get closer to 220 flat. That would be completely fine. I'm not necessarily scared, and I still think we could be forming a cup and handle. So do not worry. That's the main thing I just want to tell you guys. Now for SPY, we called out this resistance at this 560 area. I told you if we broke 560 on SPY, we're going to be looking for the gap fill all the way up to about 562.8 at least. And if we ended up projecting off 560, there's a risk of 558 and then 556. So look at 558 as our key support. If we lose that, we're looking for 556, and then we have 560 as resistance. If 558 ends up breaking, we're coming back down to about 556. And then if that breaks, there's going to be a bigger tip coming all the way down towards the 553s. So watch our support at 558. We'll see if this holds. SPY might lose that, and then 556 would be our next target. Overall, it's holding up decently, and the reason I say that is because we're still up pretty big compared to where we were last week, a couple of weeks ago. So we're still in a good place, guys. It's not the end of the world. Even if we dip a couple of points, completely fine. We can still rebound later on. So don't worry too much about this. I think it is possible we dip lower, but this is just a very healthy move. There's nothing, unhealthy about this. There's nothing too scary. Don't panic. It's going to be completely fine. For Nvidia, I said in the morning we had this resistance at this 130 to 132 area. We might push a bit and end up dipping. Because we failed to hold 130, we came down to support very close to this 127 area, so right about here. And then with that failing, our next target would be all the way down here around the 124s, followed by 122. Now, Nvidia also has resistance around 128, not to mention 130. We're kind of stuck within this range. There is a risk of us getting closer to 126 and 124. We could dip a little bit more on Nvidia, but I think we're holding up quite decently and it's going to be completely fine. So I wouldn't necessarily panic or worry too much about this. Yes, we could dip a little bit more, but we're doing quite fine. For Bitcoin got this rejection. I did mention to everyone we're kind of hitting this resistance at the 200 EMA. Because we're below 59,400, we're at risk of coming closer to the 58,000 area. So I do see a risk of downside for Bitcoin. So just be mindful of that. For the QQQ we did pump all the way up to 482. So my video yesterday was correct about a pump coming. We did push a little bit higher only to get a big rejection. So yes, the next step from yesterday was we pushed higher. It did happen. And the step after that was we came back down. So the market has these steps. Look at this 480 areas of resistance. We are seeing a lot of shuffling around here. If 480 doesn't hold us, like I said in my morning video, we have this gap to fill down here, which could take us all the way down to 476. So be mindful of that. There is a risk of some downside on the QQQ. Look at our first support at this 479 zone. And if that fails, I think the 476s are coming. So be careful with the QQQ. Know there is a risk of downside, and we'll see how we end up reacting. For Aapl, excuse me, we have 227 as our resistance. We did touch this only to shuffle. I did mention to everyone we might touch this and maybe even reject. So look at 224 as our support now. The 20 EMA is kind of trending upwards. It is possible we dip a little bit, but I think it's just holding up decently, just kind of shuffling. For the IWM, we pushed all the way up to about this 216 area. I told everyone that if we rejected here, I'd be looking for a retest of 213. And if we held this, we could try to remain bullish. We did come down to 213, but that actually failed. So now I do see us potentially coming back down to about the 210 area. But look at this big white trend line. You guys see this white line right here? We're holding this nicely. So as long as we're above that, we're going to be fine. We could dip all the way down to the 210 area. As long as we hold above that, we could still try to bounce and stuff. So we're going to be completely fine, guys. I wouldn't necessarily panic too much. So watch and see the trend line. For coin, I called out the gap below. I said, if we didn't continue to break past 210, we'd be looking for that gap fill. And now that failed us, we're basically looking at support at 192. We could continue to dip because we lost that support. So look at 192 as our next support. Otherwise, we'd be dipping all the way down to 182 after that. So just wanted to call that out, guys. There is still weakness developing on the chart. For Amazon, we have a double top leg structure, and we also have this support down here. Look at this 178 area. If we hold above this, we could technically go up to about 180. If we don't hold this, so we're just shuffling for now. If we lose this, we could be retracing to the trend line, taking us down to 175. So watch 178. We'll see if this holds or not. The day just started, so it's going to take some time. Meta kind of has a head and shoulders. Look at support at 526. If 526 fails us, we're going down to 520. And we have resistance at 530. So watch this range very carefully. We could dip a little bit lower if we lose the 20 EMA. So be very mindful of that and just know there is kind of like a head and shoulders structure. Meta is at risk of dipping. Microsoft pushed very nicely to about 424, but just note that we have this resistance approaching. I think we might shuffle a bit. If we end up losing 422, look for 420, then 418. Look at resistance at 424. We might push a little bit higher towards that area and then just start to shuffle a little bit. And then we'll see what kind of reaction we get, at least from there, moving forward, in my personal opinion. So just want to give you guys a heads up about that. For others out there, we also have Google. Google pushed very nicely to this 170 area like we predicted yesterday, but then it started to reject. So I'm going to be looking at this 168 area. We got to hold this. If you lose the 168, I think 166 is coming. If we hold above 168, we could be looking for some shuffling between 168 and 170. So watch 168. We'll see if that holds. Otherwise, we're at risk of downside. All right. So as far as the market goes, there's a bit of a move to the downside coming. There's a risk of more downside, even for stocks like Tesla. We could dip a bit, but like I said before, I'm not really scared, guys. I'm not really worried about this. So far, we're doing a good job at holding up on Tesla. And this could be a dip before a bigger bounce that's coming later on, as we still have a nice bullish structure overall. We're still making higher highs and higher lows, and we still have a possible cup and handle. This could just be the handle that's about to form before we continue higher. So we're doing fine. Don't worry. Don't panic. be calm, cool, and collected, and we'll see how things go. Thank you for listening. Watch the levels I called out, and I'll see you guys very soon on the next one. Thank you. Tesla to the moon, and peace out.